Well, the business started back in 2016, so it's been 10 years. The first wine tour that I took was the June long weekend of 2016. So we've just celebrated 10 years. I'm really excited about that. Inspiration for the business, okay, we've got to go back a little while. I was at a point in my life where I was feeling very oppressed with my whole situation, and I took myself off to Peru for a holiday. What I found there was I met people who were very, very warm and friendly, and they, sort of bring you in and you become part of their experience, part of their family almost. And it was all in a very beautiful setting. I thought to myself, how do I bring that kind of experience back to Australia? Because I found that Australian society is very much individual, and the culture that I had experienced over in Peru was more tribal based. So there's this feeling of warmth and inclusion in everything you get involved in there. I thought I'd like to give people the opportunity to feel that warmth and inclusion in a nice natural environment. My first thought was to take people on bushwalking tours. So I came to Mudgee, I bought a minibus, set up a website. I put together half a dozen really beautiful bushwalking tours. And I was quite serious about it. I was very enthusiastic at the same time. And I sought out a local Aboriginal elder, and I went to him and I said, do you kind of give me your blessing to take people out in the bush here, because this is what I really want to do? And he said, yeah, absolutely, go for it, girl. So I started doing that, and we did get some customers come and do the bushwalking with me. But then I found customers started calling me and saying, can you take me to the wineries, please? More and more calls came in saying, please take us to the wineries. I thought, well, going out to the wineries, you're still in green spaces, you're still in this beautiful natural environment that Mudgee has. You're still bringing people together in this small group experience and giving them the opportunity to talk to each other and meet each other. So it's actually still achieving that original goal that I set out to achieve. So yeah, I started out in 2016 with one minibus, which I bought off the side of the road in Newcastle. I bought it on the Easter weekend of April 2016, and by June 2016 I was running wine tours. Within 9 months, it was so busy I was taking a tour every day of the week, 7 days a week. 9 months later I went, I need a day off, so I started employing people to help me. The first 12 months, I've got to say, were very hard work. You're doing everything yourself, You come out of a corporate sort of environment, you've got your role, but you've got other departments that perform other roles. And so probably one of the biggest challenges for me in the early days particularly was, I need tech support. Oh, that's me. I need marketing. Oh, that's me. I had to kind of try to gather these skills that I had no exposure to. Small startup business, you can't really prepare yourself for that. I learned very quickly that I had to start incorporating the skills of other people. I had a very strong awareness that if the business were to succeed, I would have to very quickly build a team, and a team of not only employees who work directly for me, but also contractors who hold special skills that are outside of my experience. I engaged tech people, I engaged marketing people, I engaged tour guides. Because you've got to remember, I was 10 years younger. So I was full of enthusiasm and probably very naive, but I would sort of bounce out of bed and go do the tours and all this energy. After about 12 months, I got to almost burnout, and I was like, all right, I really need to build a team. I need to step back. I need to stop driving tours, and I need to empower other people to step into some of these roles. I started practicing this thing where I would look at what my day entailed. My day entails this task, that task, that task. And I would think, how can I package that into a job description? So that's how I began building the team. Now we have 9 buses, 11 tour guides, 2 admin support, a cleaner, and a plethora of contractors. That's how that began. It was a very early realization that I could not do it all myself. I actually grew up watching my dad build a business from home. Before he was my mentor, I saw him build his own business. He built an incredibly successful computer software business, which started in the 70s. Nobody even knew what a computer was. And through the 80s, it was incredibly successful, but he built it all from home. So I saw the process, and although I was under 10 years old watching this all happen, I think I absorbed a lot, know-how and his methods and that sort of thing. So how did I know it was time to expand the business? The customers told me it's time to expand because demand was outstripping what I could supply. So I started off very, very small, and I found that in a very short period of time, I was taking a lot of calls and turning customers away and saying, sorry, we're booked out. It wasn't a matter of me trying to grow the business. It was more a matter of me trying to keep up with demand. I thought, if I'm going to answer a call and tell them no, that's still taking my time and energy to answer that call. I might as well answer that call and tell them yes. I started buying more buses, employing more people, and that's how and why it expanded. It wasn't a deliberate, a kind of intentional, I need to grow this business as big as I possibly can. It was more a feeling of regret of having to turn people away. My favourite thing about running a wine tour business? Well, there's a couple of favourite things. I really love to see when we get random customers come on tour and we throw them all in a minibus together, and at first they're a little bit shy with each other. At the end of the day, they're like besties and they decide that they all want to go out to dinner together. So to me, that's job done, like mission accomplished. If we are encouraging people to form new friendships, that's what it's all about. The favourite thing for me of running the business is managing my team. I love to look after my team. Actually, what most of my days entail now is just catching up with my staff before and after their shift, making sure that they're happy, making sure that they're supported. So yeah, looking after the team and seeing the business model just helping people to form new friendships and to celebrate their existing friends. Just lovely to be in a position to facilitate development of people's relationships. You know, we've had proposals on tour, we've had wedding anniversaries, long lost friends that are reuniting after decades. Even new romantic connections sometimes have happened on tour. So yeah, it's lovely, it's really good. We do have some customers that have actually been on tour every year with us. There's customers that have done 8, 9 tours with us. Sometimes they bring back different groups of friends each time. I try to, where possible, pop in and see them during their tour and thank them personally for coming back. Okay, so the thing that makes a good tour guide have to be open and welcoming of all people. So they've got to be super positive, super engaging and curious about people. And they have to be good icebreakers. And if they're entertainers, even better. Suits naturally extroverted people who really love to engage and welcome and who are open to all sorts of people. We certainly celebrate diversity here. A range of cultures, a diverse range of ages, sexualities, gender identities. I love to appreciate and welcome all people. Well, biggest challenge so far in my 10 years, it was actually a string of events that happened starting in 2019. August of 2019, we had an absolute tragedy happen, and my dear staff actually died in an accident. It was just the most traumatic thing. The business at the time was 4 years old, and we'd had this tragedy happen. So that was very difficult to process and move through. Then almost immediately after that, there were bushfires everywhere, and there were bushfires in the region. Air was basically unbreathable. There were dust storms because of the drought. The air was full of red dirt. And then almost immediately after that, we went into the first COVID lockdown. And the business was completely shut down. Because my whole life at that point was my business, and all of my friendships were really based around the business. People that I was hanging out with at that time were my staff, my winery partners, and people associated with the business. And so I went from this lifestyle of feeling very connected with a lot of people into a period of grief. And then, oh, the air's full of dust and it feels like a disaster. And then it's like, all right, total isolation and shut down. And then immediately after the first COVID lockdown, we had a mouse plague, which was, yeah. And the next challenge, it was actually a positive, but it was still experienced by me as a challenge. So when we came out of the first COVID lockdown, it was totally unexpected by me, but we hit this really big boom. And sales tripled. We went from nothing to Now we're operating triple speed and we weren't quite ready for it. This tidal wave of customers is coming. My team were working round the clock and rostering shifts and going, oh, I'd better give you a day off. You've worked the last 6 days straight, and just trying to manage it all because it came so suddenly and unexpectedly. I remember in that period, I was processing bookings from the minute I woke up in the morning to the minute I went to sleep at night. And then I would get up the next morning, there'd be 20 new bookings to process. And I had admin help doing the same. So there was me and my admin assistant both processing bookings constantly, all day, every day, and just turning buses around. And I'd be washing buses at midnight, ready to go out the next day. Yeah, by the time the second COVID lockdown hit, I took a breath and went, okay, I'll rest. I'll enjoy the rest, because I know that after this lockdown, we're coming into another big boom. So the silver lining with all of that was those two boom periods following each of the lockdowns, together those two 12-month periods bought me a house. They were tumultuous times. It was a period of a couple of years that was very tumultuous. So yeah, you'll find that in any startup business, there'll be periods where things become quite unmanageable. That in itself is a bit of a blessing, because it forces you to think more deeply about how to create a better system. Secret to my success after 10 years. Do not try to do everything yourself. I mean, you have to at times. It's always been my number one goal with the business to continue to look for ways to sack myself from whatever it is I'm doing. When I get to a point where I feel overwhelmed with my workload, I write down exactly what my days entail, and I package it into a job description. Or I look for ways to simplify. The key roles that are really important in my business actually are the admin staff and my cleaner. Those two roles are key because I can't do without them. Also in the early days, I did enlist a government-backed mentor. His name was Philip Small, and he was working in this area. It's a free mentor service, and he was actually great. I will ping ideas off anyone who happens to be around. My staff are my mentors, because every time they walk in the door, I tell them what I'm thinking of doing or what I'm thinking of implementing or changing. I kind of get feedback from as many people as I can. All individuals, we all have our own background and experience. And I think for me, ground of growing up, seeing a small business happening and growing, and then the corporate background has put me in a position where I have a particular perspective on this business. So Mudgee is well known for its collaboration amongst small businesses. A small town doesn't operate unless you do collaborate. The relationship with our winery partners are essential to the success of the business. So I do often pop in and just visit the wineries. And something that we have always done for our winery partners is cross-promote. Every time we attend a winery with a tour group, we're marketing that on Facebook and Instagram, and constantly making videos and photos recommending all of our favourite wineries. What does the next 10 years look like? Well, lately in Mudgee, there's a really big demand for people who just want to rent a room to live in. We've started with a couple of houses doing managed share houses. And when I say managed, linen's provided, the cleaner comes through once a week. So that the house is always maintained in an orderly and clean way. There's been so much demand for rooms that I'm running with that, and I foresee the next 10 years as being more about the expansion of the share house business, and we keep the tours kind of on a level.